The massive chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with the quiet murmur of hundreds of different species engaged in what they called diplomacy. In reality, it was mostly petty bickering dressed up in fancy diplomatic language. The high domed ceiling was meant to inspire awe, with its swirling representation of the Milky Way galaxy, complete with twinkling lights representing each member world. 50 of those lights represented Earth's colonies, the result of humanity's rapid expansion after joining the Council. Lisa Carter sat at the Earth delegation station, fingers drumming impatiently on the polished surface of her console. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical bun, and her blue council uniform was impeccable as always, though she had long since stopped caring about such trivialities. After 15 years as Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, she had seen enough debates about uniform colors and procedural minutiae to last several lifetimes. Madam Ambassador, Ryan Murphy, her deputy, leaned over to whisper in her ear, "We've received an urgent transmission from Earth Command." Lisa nodded slightly, careful not to interrupt the Xylofian delegate who was currently giving an impassioned speech about the proper protocol for addressing species without auditory organs. She tapped her earpiece discreetly. Connecting to the secure Earth channel, Ambassador Carter. Admiral Santiago's voice came through, tense and controlled. "We've lost contact with the Proxima Centauri colony. Early reports suggest pirate activity, possibly the Draxian faction we've been tracking." Lisa's face remained neutral, a skill honed through years of diplomatic service. But her heart rate quickened. Proxima Centauri was home to over 2 million human settlers. Casualties? Unknown, but we're dispatching the Fifth Fleet. The problem is that the pirates appear to be using Galactic Council-registered vessels. We need Council authorization to engage, or we risk diplomatic incident. Of course they did. The bureaucracy of the Council had grown so convoluted that humanity couldn't even defend its own people without filing the proper forms in triplicate. "I'll get it done," Lisa replied, ending the transmission. On the Council floor, the Xylofian delegate was still speaking, now debating the finer points of gesture-based greeting protocols. Lisa signaled for attention, following the proper Council procedure that she had long since memorized. Chancellor Vrex, the imposing 7-foot-tall Arcturian who headed the Council, ignored her signal for a full 5 minutes before finally acknowledging her. "The Council recognizes the Earth delegate," Vrex said, his voice a low rumble that carried across the chamber without amplification. Lisa stood, her posture straight and confident. "Honored members of the Council, I must bring an urgent matter to your attention. The human colony on Proxima Centauri is under attack by pirates using Council-registered vessels. Earth requests immediate authorization to engage these hostile forces to protect our citizens." A murmur ran through the assembly. Chancellor Vrex stared at her with his 4 golden eyes, his expression unreadable. "The Council is currently discussing the critical matter of interspecies greeting protocols," Vrex said. "Your concern will be added to the agenda for next quarter's emergency session." Lisa felt a surge of anger. "Chancellor, people are dying as we speak. This cannot wait for next quarter." "Ambassador Carter." Vrex's tone carried a note of warning. "The Council procedures exist for a reason. If we allowed every minor border skirmish to interrupt our scheduled discussions, we would never accomplish anything." Minor border skirmish? 2 million lives were at stake. Lisa glanced at Ryan, who looked as outraged as she felt. "Then I moved to suspend the current discussion in favor of addressing this emergency," Lisa said, invoking one of the rarely used Council procedures. "Seconded," came a voice from across the chamber. Lisa was surprised to see the Centaurian delegate, Nelox, supporting her motion. Though not human, the Centaurians had always maintained good relations with Earth. Chancellor Vrex's upper pair of eyes narrowed slightly. Very well. All in favor of suspending the current discussion to address the Earth delegates' concern? Lisa watched as only a handful of delegates signaled their agreement. Most sat passively, unwilling to disrupt the status quo for something as inconsequential as human lives. The motion fails, Vrex announced, not bothering to hide his satisfaction. Now, shall we continue with our scheduled discussion? I believe the Xylofian delegate was explaining the proper use of tentacle gestures in formal greetings. Lisa remained standing, her hands clenched at her sides. Chancellor, I must insist. You have been recognized once, Ambassador Carter. Vrex cut her off. Council protocol states that you may not address the Assembly again until all other delegates have had an opportunity to speak on the current topic. And there were 247 delegates waiting to speak on interspecies greeting protocols. Lisa sat down slowly, her mind racing. She opened a secure channel to Earth Command. Admiral Santiago, the Council has refused to expedite authorization. You're going to have to wait for the proper clearance or risk diplomatic consequences. There was a long pause on the other end. Ambassador, with all due respect, we cannot wait. The Fifth Fleet is already engaging the pirates. I'll take full responsibility for any diplomatic fallout. Understood, Lisa said quietly. Do what you need to do to protect our people, the Carter out. She closed the channel and exchanged a look with Ryan. For 50 years, Earth had played by the Council's rules, believing that cooperation among species was the path to a peaceful galaxy. But what good was peace if it came at the cost of human lives? As the Xylofian drone continued, Lisa made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Earth had been patient long enough. Over the next several weeks, reports from Proxima Centauri trickled in. The Fifth Fleet had successfully repelled the pirate attack, but not before thousands of colonists had been killed. Earth had filed formal complaints with the Council, citing their failure to act in the face of a clear emergency. The Council's response had been predictable. A committee was formed to investigate the incident, with findings expected in approximately 3 standard years. Meanwhile, similar attacks had been reported on other human colonies on the galaxy's outer rim. Disease outbreaks were spreading through the Arcturus sector, affecting primarily human settlements, but the Council's Health Division was tied up in debates about the ethical implications of cross-species medical trials. Lisa sat in her private office, reviewing the latest reports. The door chimed, and Jake Harrison, her security chief, entered. A former Marine with a perpetual serious expression. Jake had been with Lisa's delegation for 8 years. Ambassador, we've received intelligence that you may be in danger, Jake said without preamble. There have been threats from several Council species who blame Earth for acting unilaterally at Proxima Centauri. Lisa sighed. Of course they do. Heaven forbid we actually protect our own people without waiting for their permission. Should I increase security for the delegation? Yes, but discreetly. I don't want to give them any more reason to accuse us of aggression. After Jake left, Lisa turned to the window overlooking the Council's sprawling complex. The massive structure was a feat of engineering, designed to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes. Once, she had seen it as a symbol of unity and cooperation. Now, it seemed more like a monument to bureaucratic inefficiency. Her console chimed with an incoming message from Earth's President Romano. Ambassador Carter, Romano began, her expression grave. The situation has escalated. 3 more colonies have reported pirate attacks, and the Draxians are denying any involvement. The Council's inaction is costing us lives, and Earth's citizens are demanding answers. Madam President, I've tried every diplomatic channel available. The Council simply doesn't consider our problems a priority. Romano nodded slowly. Then perhaps it's time we reconsider our position within the Council. I'm sending you new instructions. Read them carefully, and prepare to implement them at tomorrow's General Assembly. The transmission ended, and an encrypted file appeared on Lisa's console. As she read through it, her eyes widened. The instructions were clear, but the implications were staggering. For the first time in 15 years of diplomatic service, Lisa felt a flutter of something like hope. The next day, the council chamber was busier than usual. The agenda included a discussion on the color scheme for the next cycle's official uniforms, a topic that had somehow warranted emergency status. Lisa sat at the Earth station, reviewing her notes one last time. Ryan looked nervous beside her, having been briefed on what was about to happen. "Are you sure about this?" he whispered. Lisa nodded. "It's long overdue." Chancellor Vrex called the session to order, his booming voice echoing through the chamber. Today's primary agenda item concerns the official council uniform colors for the upcoming cycle. The current proposal suggests a shift from blue to a more inclusive shade of purple, which is visible across a wider spectrum of visual capabilities. Lisa signaled for recognition, and to her surprise, Vrex acknowledged her immediately. "The Council recognizes the Earth delegate," he said. "Though I must remind you that we are discussing uniform colors, not your colonial security concerns." Lisa stood, feeling the eyes of every delegate upon her. "Thank you, Chancellor. I appreciate the recognition, as it saves me the trouble of interrupting." A murmur ran through the assembly at her uncharacteristically bold opening. For 50 years, Earth has been a loyal member of this council. We have contributed our technology, our resources, and our diplomatic efforts to the cause of galactic peace. We have followed your rules, respected your protocols, and believed in the vision of a united galaxy. Lisa paused, looking around the chamber at the various delegates. Some were listening intently, others typing notes, and a few appeared to be sleeping or in whatever passed for rest in their species. During that time, we have watched as the Council has grown increasingly ineffective. While pirates attack our colonies, while disease ravages our settlements, while human lives are lost, this body debates uniform colors and greeting protocols. Chancellor Vrex rose to his full height. "Ambassador Carter, this is highly inappropriate." "No, Chancellor," Lisa cut him off. "What's inappropriate is the Council's persistent neglect of matters that affect the lives of billions across the galaxy. Not just humans, but all species on the outer rim who lack the political influence to have their concerns prioritized." The chamber had gone completely silent now. "I have been authorized by Earth's government to deliver this message, effective immediately. Earth and all its colonies are withdrawing from the Galactic Council." The silence shattered as hundreds of delegates began speaking at once. Some rose from their seats, gesturing wildly. Chancellor Vrex pounded his ceremonial staff on the floor, attempting to restore order. "This is unprecedented," he roared. "You cannot simply withdraw without following the proper procedures for separation, which require a minimum of 25 years of transition." "We can and we are," Lisa replied calmly. "Earth signed the Council Charter as a sovereign entity, and that same sovereignty gives us the right to leave. We will no longer subject the safety and well-being of our citizens to your debates and committees." A Tellarite delegate pushed forward. "But what of your commitments, your trade agreements, your defensive pacts?" "All null and void as of this moment," Lisa said. "Earth will pursue individual agreements with any species willing to work with us directly, without the Council's interference." The chamber erupted again, and this time Vrex couldn't restore order. Lisa gathered her materials, nodded to Ryan and Jake, and began walking toward the exit. As they reached the massive doors, a delegate blocked their path, Nelox, the Centaurian who had supported her motion weeks earlier. Ambassador Carter, Nelox said, his voice low and urgent. You cannot know what you are doing. The galaxy needs Earth, needs humans. Your species brings a perspective that many of us lack. Lisa offered a small smile. Then perhaps you should have listened to that perspective when it mattered. Nelox, the door remains open for direct relations with Centauri, but Earth is done with the Council. With that, she stepped around him and exited the chamber, the sound of chaos fading behind her. The immediate aftermath of Earth's withdrawal was pandemonium. Emergency sessions were called. Diplomatic envoys were dispatched to Earth, and threats of sanctions were made. Earth ignored them all. Instead, humanity turned inward, focusing on securing its colonies and strengthening its position in the galaxy. The fleet that had once been partially committed to Council peacekeeping missions was now entirely dedicated to protecting human interests. 3 months after the withdrawal, Lisa sat in her new office in Geneva, Earth's diplomatic headquarters. The view of Lake Geneva and the Alps beyond was a welcome change from the artificial environments of the Council complex. Ryan entered, carrying a data pad. The Centaurians have reached out again. They're offering a direct defensive pact, independent of the Council. Lisa nodded. Send the terms to the Security Committee for review. What about the medical supplies for the Arcturus colonies? Already en route. Without having to go through Council approval, we've cut delivery time by 80%. Lisa smiled. And the pirate attacks? We're down by 70% since we deployed the new defense grid. Turns out, when we don't have to share our military technology with potentially hostile species, we can create much more effective systems. The door opened again, and Jake Harrison entered. Ambassador, or should I say Secretary Carter now, we've received an unusual request. Chancellor Vrex is asking for a private audience. Lisa raised an eyebrow. Here, on Earth? Jake nodded. His ship entered orbit an hour ago. He's following all protocols and came with minimal security. Lisa exchanged a look with Ryan. This should be interesting. Have him brought to the diplomatic reception room. And Jake, maintain security protocols, but be respectful. An hour later, Lisa stood as Chancellor Vrex ducked through the doorway of the reception room. Away from the council chambers, without his ceremonial robes, he seemed smaller somehow, though he still towered over her. Chancellor, Lisa greeted him neutrally. This is an unexpected honor. Vrex's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of discomfort in Arcturians. The honor is mine. Secretary Carter, I appreciate you seeing me on such short notice. Lisa gestured to a chair specially designed to accommodate his large frame. Please, sit. What brings the head of the Galactic Council all the way to Earth? Surely this matter could have been handled by envoys. Vrex settled into the chair, his posture stiff. Some matters require direct conversation. The Council has concerns about Earth's recent actions. I'm sure it does, but as I made clear 3 months ago, Earth is no longer answerable to the Council. It's not a matter of answerability, Vrex said, his voice lacking its usual commanding tone. It's a matter of stability. Since Earth's withdrawal, the galaxy has experienced unexpected disruptions. Lisa leaned forward slightly. What kind of disruptions? Trade routes that had been stable for centuries have become unpredictable. Species that have been historical enemies are forming alliances out of fear. The Draxian pirates that were attacking your colonies have expanded their operations, targeting other species as well. That sounds like a council problem. Chancellor, Earth is focused on protecting its own interest now. Vrex's upper eyes narrowed. That's precisely the issue, Secretary. For 50 years, humanity has been a stabilizing force in the galaxy. Your species has a unique ability to mediate between radically different perspectives. Without that influence, old conflicts are re-emerging. Lisa couldn't help but feel a surge of satisfaction. Are you saying the Council misses us, Chancellor? The Council adapts to changing circumstances, Vrex replied diplomatically. But it has become apparent that humanity's role was more significant than perhaps we recognized. More significant than you were willing to acknowledge. You mean? Vrex shifted uncomfortably. The Council operates by consensus. Secretary, it's a delicate balance. A balance that left my people vulnerable while you debated uniform colors. Lisa reminded him. An oversimplification, Vrex said. But I concede that the Council's priorities have not always aligned with immediate security concerns. Lisa stood and walked to the window, looking out at the peaceful scene of Lake Geneva. What exactly are you proposing, Chancellor? Earth is not rejoining the Council under the previous terms. The Council is prepared to offer significant concessions. Vrex said, priority status for human security concerns, guaranteed response times for emergency situations, a permanent seat on the executive committee. Lisa turned back to face him. All things we requested multiple times over the past decade. Circumstances have changed. Yes, Lisa agreed. They have. Earth no longer needs those concessions. Chancellor, we're doing quite well on our own. Vrex stood, his massive frame casting a shadow across the room. You cannot seriously believe that humanity can thrive in isolation. The galaxy is too interconnected, too complex. We're not in isolation, Lisa corrected him. We're pursuing direct relationships with species who respect us enough to give our concerns proper attention. The Centaurians, for instance, seem quite eager to work with us. The Centaurians are a minor power, Vrex dismissed. A minor power with whom we share mutual respect, Lisa countered, something the Council never demonstrated. Vrex's frustration was palpable. Secretary Carter, you must understand the danger of the path Earth is taking. The Council may have its flaws, but it has maintained peace among thousands of species for millennia. A peace that came at the expense of those on the outer rim, those without political influence, those like humanity who were expected to contribute but not complain. And now you would dismantle a system that, however imperfect, has prevented galactic war. Lisa shook her head. We're not dismantling anything, Chancellor. We're simply choosing not to participate in a system that doesn't serve our interests. The Council is free to continue as it always has. Without humanity's moderating influence, that may not be possible. Vrex admitted, his tone softer than Lisa had ever heard it. Then perhaps it's time for the Council to evolve, Lisa suggested. To become something more responsive, more effective, more just. Vrex was silent for a long moment. What would it take to bring Earth back to the table? Lisa had been expecting this question. Not concessions, Chancellor, fundamental reform, a complete restructuring of how the Council operates, how it prioritizes issues, how it responds to crises. That would take years, possibly decades to implement. Then I suggest you get started, Lisa said. In the meantime, Earth will continue on its independent path. Vrex nodded slowly. I will convey your position to the Council, but I must warn you, Secretary, there are those who see Earth's withdrawal as a threat, who would prefer more direct methods of bringing humanity back into the fold. Lisa's expression hardened. Anyone who threatens Earth will receive a very clear demonstration of why that's unwise. Chancellor, we've been holding back our military technology for decades out of respect for Council restrictions. Those restrictions no longer apply. Vrex rose to his full height. Is that a threat, Secretary? It's a fact, Lisa replied calmly. Earth wants peace, Chancellor. but we will not sacrifice our sovereignty or our security to achieve it. After Vrex departed, Ryan and Jake joined Lisa in her office. "How did it go?" Ryan asked. "About as expected," Lisa said. "They're starting to realize what they've lost, but they're not yet ready to make real changes." Jake frowned. "His comment about direct methods concerns me. We should increase our alert status." Lisa nodded. "Agreed. And accelerate the deployment of the new defense systems to our outer colonies. If anyone is foolish enough to test us, I want them to receive an unmistakable message." As Earth continued its independent path, the predictions of chaos and isolation failed to materialize. Instead, humanity flourished as never before, freed from Council restrictions on technological development. Earth scientists made breakthroughs in propulsion, medicine, and communications that would have taken decades under the previous system. The pirate attacks ceased entirely after a decisive confrontation in which Earth's newly unveiled fleet decimated the Draxian forces. The message was clear. Humanity would defend its people with overwhelming force if necessary. 6 months after the withdrawal, direct treaties had been established with 15 former Council species, including the Centaurians, the Proxians, and surprisingly, the Tellarites, who had been vocal critics of Earth in the Council. Lisa was reviewing the terms of a new medical exchange program with the Proxians when an urgent alert came through. A massive fleet of Council vessels had appeared at the edge of the Sol system. "Battle stations?" Jake asked, already moving to implement defense protocols. Lisa studied the sensor readings. "No, they're maintaining orbit at the system's edge. Communication protocols indicate a diplomatic mission." She frowned. "A very large diplomatic mission. I count 73 ships," Ryan reported, "representatives from at least 30 species." "Open a channel," Lisa ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing not Chancellor Vrex, but Nelox, the Centaurian delegate who had been sympathetic to Earth's position. "Secretary Carter," Nelox greeted her. "I come as the representative of the Reformed Galactic Council." Lisa raised an eyebrow. "Reformed?" "There have been significant changes since your departure," Nelox explained. "Chancellor Vrex has been removed from office. The Council has undergone restructuring. We would like to present our new charter for Earth's consideration." Lisa exchanged glances with her team. "This is unexpected. And what kind of restructuring?" "The kind you suggested," Nelox said. "Emergency response protocols, prioritization of security concerns, direct accountability for Council leadership, and more. But perhaps it would be best if we discussed this in person." 6 hours later, Lisa sat at the head of Geneva's Grand Conference table, facing representatives from 30 former Council species. Nelox, now bearing the title of interim facilitator rather than chancellor, presented a datapad containing the new Council charter. As Lisa read through it, she couldn't hide her surprise. The reforms were far more extensive than she had imagined possible. The bloated bureaucracy had been stripped down. Emergency response mechanisms had been implemented, and most significantly, a new system of rotation ensured that rim worlds would have equal representation with core worlds. "This is impressive," Lisa admitted. "But why the change of heart? When we left, most of you seemed quite content with the status quo." An Andorian representative spoke up. "After your departure, the trade disruptions became severe. Without Earth's fleet helping to secure shipping lanes, piracy increased by 300%, and the medical crisis in the Arcturus sector spread to 12 more systems," added a Vulcanite delegate. "Without human medical expertise, we were unable to contain it effectively." Nelox nodded. "But it was more than practical concerns. Secretary Carter, Earth's withdrawal forced many species to confront an uncomfortable truth. The Council had become a tool for maintaining power rather than promoting genuine cooperation. The debate over your withdrawal was intense, a Tellarite admitted. Many of us realized we had been complicit in a system that marginalized important voices. Lisa set down the data pad. And what exactly are you proposing now? We are inviting Earth to join the Reformed Council, Nelox said. Not as a returning member, but as a founding member of a new organization. One that will learn from the mistakes of its predecessor. Lisa studied the faces around the table. There was an earnestness there that she hadn't seen in the council chambers. And if we decline, then the Reformed Council will continue without Earth's participation, Nelox said. But we hope that won't be necessary. The galaxy needs humanity's perspective. Secretary Carter, we've learned that lesson rather painfully. I'll need to consult with Earth's government, Lisa said. This decision cannot be made unilaterally. Of course, Nelox agreed. We will await your response. After the delegation departed, Lisa met with President Romano and the Earth Security Council via secure channel. It's a remarkable document, Romano admitted after reviewing the charter. Everything we've been pushing for years and more. The question is whether we can trust them to maintain these reforms once the crisis has passed. General Miyamoto pointed out, Lisa considered this. The reforms include safeguards against regression, and the new power-sharing structure would make it difficult for the core worlds to dominate again. What's your recommendation, Secretary? Romano asked. Lisa took a deep breath. I believe we should accept their invitation, but with conditions. Earth maintains independent defense capabilities. We reserve the right to withdraw without notice if the reforms are reversed, and we insist on verification mechanisms for all Council activities. Romano nodded slowly. It's a reasonable approach. Earth has demonstrated that we can stand alone if necessary, but there are advantages to galactic cooperation, as long as it's genuine cooperation, not subservience. 2 days later, Lisa stood before the assembled representatives of 30 species in Earth's Grand Assembly Hall. The event was being broadcast across human colonies and to Council worlds throughout the galaxy. On behalf of Earth and its colonies, I accept the invitation to join the Reformed Galactic Council, she announced. With the conditions that have been negotiated and accepted by all parties, Nelox stepped forward, offering a traditional Earth handshake rather than the elaborate Council greeting protocol. On behalf of the Reformed Council, I welcome Earth as a founding member. Your conditions are accepted without reservation. As they shook hands, Lisa couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought them to this point. A year ago, she had been a frustrated diplomat in a dysfunctional system, watching helplessly as human colonies suffered while bureaucrats debated trivialities. Now, she stood as the architect of a new galactic order, one in which Earth's voice would be heard and respected. It had taken a dramatic act of independence, walking away from the table entirely, to finally get the galaxy's attention. As the ceremony concluded and the delegates moved to the reception, Nelox approached Lisa privately. There's something I've been curious about, Secretary Carter, he said. Did you know what would happen when Earth withdrew? Did you anticipate the cascading effects it would have on the galaxy? Lisa smiled slightly. I knew there would be consequences. I didn't know exactly what form they would take. It was a significant gamble, Nelox observed. Sometimes walking away is the only leverage you have, Lisa replied. Earth was ready to stand alone if necessary. That willingness to accept independence rather than continue in a flawed system was what forced change. Nelox nodded thoughtfully. A lesson for all species, perhaps. One should never become so entangled in a system that leaving becomes unthinkable. Exactly, Lisa agreed. The moment you can't walk away is the moment you've lost your power. As Nellox moved on to speak with other delegates, Ryan approached Lisa with a glass of champagne. "Congratulations, Madam Secretary," he said, offering her the glass. "From frustrated ambassador to galactic reformer in less than a year, not bad." Lisa accepted the champagne with a smile. "The work is just beginning. Ryan, reforming the council on paper is one thing. Making those reforms stick will be the real challenge. At least now we have a fighting chance," Ryan pointed out. "And if they backslide, well, we've already proven we can make it on our own." "That we have," Lisa agreed, raising her glass in a small toast. "To independence, the greatest negotiating tool of all." As the reception continued around them, Lisa looked out at the gathering of species, all now engaged in genuine dialogue rather than performative diplomacy. Earth had walked away from galaxy politics, and the universe had indeed freaked out, but in doing so, had perhaps finally found its way toward a more honest and equitable future. The next few years would test whether this new arrangement could endure, whether species with vastly different biologies, psychologies, and histories could truly work together as equals. But for the first time since Earth had joined the galactic community, Lisa felt genuine hope that it might be possible. Sometimes the only way forward was to be willing to walk away. Earth had taught the galaxy that lesson, and in doing so, had changed the course of galactic history forever. In her private moments, Lisa sometimes wondered what would have happened if Earth had simply continued to tolerate the status quo, to accept its marginal position in the council hierarchy. How many more colonies would have been lost to pirate attacks? How many more diseases would have spread unchecked while committees debated protocol? The galaxy had needed a shock to its system. Earth had provided that shock, and in doing so, had perhaps saved not only itself but the very concept of interspecies cooperation. As Lisa looked around at the representatives of 30 different species, all now engaged in the difficult but necessary work of building something new, she knew that the decision to walk away had been the right one. Sometimes, the most powerful statement wasn't what you said, but what you did. Earth had walked away. The universe had freaked out. And now, perhaps, it could begin to heal. In the years that followed, the reformed Galactic Council would face many challenges. Old rivalries would resurface. New threats would emerge from the unexplored regions of the galaxy, and the temptation to slip back into comfortable patterns of power would always be present. But with Earth's example fresh in the collective memory of the galaxy's species, there was a new understanding. Cooperation was not a given, but a choice, one that had to be earned through genuine respect and mutual benefit. As Lisa Carter would later write in her memoirs, "The moment we decided we could live without them was the moment they realized they couldn't live without us." Independence isn't just a status, it's a state of mind. And sometimes, walking away from the table is the only way to change the conversation. The galaxy had learned its lesson, and humanity, standing tall and unafraid, was ready to help write the next chapter of galactic history, not as supplicants, but as equals. The reformed council structure took some time to implement fully across the vast expanse of the galaxy. Some of the older, more established species resisted the changes, clinging to their traditional privileges. But the economic and security benefits of the new system quickly became apparent, even to the skeptics. 1 year after Earth's return to the council, Lisa found herself in a very different council chamber. Gone was the imposing cathedral-like space designed to intimidate and overwhelm. In its place was a circular forum where all representatives sat at the same level, with state-of-the-art translation systems ensuring that no species had a communication advantage over others. The security report from the Orion sector shows a 90% reduction in pirate activity, reported the Tellarite security coordinator. The joint patrol system is proving more effective than anticipated. Lisa nodded in satisfaction. The joint patrols had been her idea, mixed crews from multiple species working together to secure trade routes. Not only had it improved security, but it had fostered understanding between formerly isolated species. After the session, Nelox approached her. Secretary Carter, the medical exchange program with the Proxians has been a remarkable success. The treatment protocols developed by human doctors have been adapted for 17 different species now. I'm glad to hear it, Lisa replied. Dr. Patel will be pleased, and she's been working on cross-species medical applications for decades. There are still challenges, of course, Nelox admitted. The Draxians have been notably absent from council proceedings since the reforms. Lisa frowned. Intelligence suggests they're rebuilding their fleet in the shadow of the Medusan Nebula. We should increase surveillance in that sector. Already done, Nelox assured her. The early warning system you designed has been fully implemented. As they walked through the new council complex, Lisa noticed something that would have been unthinkable in the old system. Species that had historically been enemies were engaged in direct dialogue, without intermediaries or elaborate protocols. A Vulcanite and an Andorian were deep in conversation about a joint mining operation. A group of Tellarites were demonstrating new technology to interested Centaurians. It's working better than I expected, Lisa admitted. Nelox made a sound that in his species passed for laughter. Don't sound so surprised, Secretary. This is what you fought for. I fought for Earth's independence, Lisa corrected him. This transformation was beyond my imagination. Perhaps, Nelox said, but it was your willingness to walk away that made it possible. Sometimes the greatest gift one can offer a flawed system is the courage to leave it. That evening, Lisa returned to Earth's embassy, a sleek structure that reflected humanity's new confidence in its galactic position. Ryan was waiting with reports from the outer colonies. Production is up 30% across all settlements, he reported. And applications for new colonial ventures have tripled. It seems the reformed security protocols have given people confidence to expand further into the rim. Lisa smiled. Good. Humanity needs room to grow. There's more, Ryan said, unable to hide his excitement. The prototype propulsion system has passed all tests. Travel time to Proxima Centauri has been reduced by 60%. This was significant news. Faster travel meant better communication, more efficient trade, and more effective response to emergencies. Have we shared the specifications with the Council Technology Division? Lisa asked. Ryan nodded. As per the new exchange protocols, the Vulcanites are already working on adaptations for their vessel designs. And our contingency plans? Lisa hadn't forgotten the lessons of the past year. Still in place, Ryan assured her. Earth's independent defense capabilities remain at full strength, and the emergency withdrawal protocols are updated weekly. If the Council ever reverts to its old ways, we can walk away again within hours. Lisa nodded in satisfaction. Let's hope it never comes to that. But it's good to be prepared. 3 years after Earth's dramatic exit and triumphant return to galactic politics, the Reformed Council faced its first major crisis. A previously unknown species from beyond the galactic rim made contact, and their message was far from friendly. The Xel'Naga, as they called themselves, demanded tribute from all worlds in the galaxy's western quadrant, threatening annihilation for any who refused. The old council would have formed committees, debated for months, and probably still been arguing about the proper greeting protocol when the first planets fell. The Reformed Council responded within hours. Lisa stood in the emergency response center, surrounded by representatives from 20 species, all focused on the tactical display showing the approaching Xel'Naga fleet. "Their technology is unlike anything we've encountered," reported the Vulcanite science officer. "Conventional defenses may be ineffective. Then we'll need unconventional defenses," Lisa replied. She turned to the Tellarite weapons specialist. "What about the phase shift technology your people have been developing?" "Untested against this kind of threat," the Tellarite admitted, "but the theoretical models are promising." "And the Centaurian shield harmonics?" Lisa asked Nelox. "Could be adapted to counter their energy signatures based on the preliminary scans." Lisa nodded. "Then that's our approach, a combined technology solution drawing on the strengths of multiple species." She looked around the room. "This is exactly why the reforms were necessary. No single species has the answer to this threat. But together, we might." The following weeks were intense as the combined fleet of the Reformed Council engaged the Xel'Naga invaders. Earth vessels formed the core of the defense force, their advanced propulsion systems allowing them to respond quickly to the invaders' movements. Vulcanite sensors provided critical intelligence on the enemy's capabilities. Tellarite weapons and Centaurian shields proved an effective combination against the alien technology. When the dust settled, the Xel'Naga had been driven back beyond the rim, and the Council had achieved something unprecedented, a truly unified response to an existential threat. In the aftermath, as the Council assessed the damage and began rebuilding efforts, Lisa found herself in a reflective mood. She stood at the observation deck of Earth's flagship, the ESS Determination, looking out at the stars. Jake Harrison joined her, still wearing the uniform of Earth's defense forces despite his diplomatic role. "Penny for your thoughts, Secretary?" Lisa smiled at the old Earth expression. "I was just thinking about how different this could have been. If Earth hadn't walked away 3 years ago, if the Council hadn't been forced to reform." Jake nodded. "We'd probably still be debating whether the Xel'Naga threat warranted an emergency session. And several worlds would be smoldering ruins by now," Lisa added soberly. "Your gamble paid off," Jake said. "Walking away was the right call." "It wasn't really a gamble," Lisa admitted. "It was desperation. We couldn't continue as we were, watching our people die while bureaucrats debated trivialities. I just didn't expect it to lead to all this. All this was a transformed galactic community. Species that had been historical enemies now worked together against common threats. The Rim worlds, once marginalized, now had an equal voice in council decisions. And Earth, once just one voice among hundreds, was now recognized as a leader in this new order. "What's next?" Jake asked. Lisa turned from the viewport to face him. "The real work, making sure these changes last, that we don't slip back into old patterns, building something that can endure the next crisis and the one after that." "Sounds like a lifetime's work," Jake observed. "At least," Lisa agreed with a smile. "But worth doing." As the Determination began its journey back to Earth, Lisa thought about the message they had sent to the galaxy 3 years ago, that sometimes walking away was the only way to bring about real change. It had been a lesson in leverage, in the power of independence, in the courage to stand alone if necessary. But it had also been a lesson in the value of true cooperation, not the performative diplomacy of the old council, but genuine collaboration based on mutual respect and shared goals. Earth had walked away from galaxy politics, and the universe had indeed freaked out. But in that moment of crisis, something new and better had been born. A system that valued action over rhetoric, results over protocol, and the welfare of all species over the privileges of a few. As Lisa prepared her report for President Romano, She found herself using a phrase that would later become famous throughout the galaxy. Sometimes the greatest contribution you can make to a broken system is to leave it. And sometimes the greatest gift you can offer a reformed system is to return with open eyes and firm boundaries. The galaxy had learned its lesson, and humanity, having demonstrated both the courage to leave and the wisdom to return under the right conditions, had earned something that no amount of diplomatic maneuvering could have achieved. Genuine respect, 5 years after Earth's dramatic exit and return. Lisa Carter stood on the podium in the Grand Assembly Hall on Earth, preparing to address delegates from over 300 species, many of whom had joined the Reformed Council in the years following its restructuring. When Earth walked away from galaxy politics 5 years ago, she began. Many predicted chaos, isolation, and eventual regret. They were partially right. There was chaos, but not for Earth. There was isolation, but not for humanity. And there was regret, but not on our part. The assembled delegates listened in respectful silence. What our critics failed to understand was that walking away was never our goal. It was our means to an end. That end was a galactic community worthy of the name, one that respected all its members, that acted decisively in the face of threats, and that valued substance over procedure. Lisa gestured to the impressive gathering before her. To look at what we have built together in just 5 years. Piracy reduced by 85% across all sectors. Medical technology shared across species boundaries, saving billions of lives. Defense cooperation that has repelled threats that would have overwhelmed any single species. Trade flourishing as never before. She paused, looking out at the faces and other sensory organs of the assembled delegates. None of this would have been possible under the old system. It took Earth's willingness to walk away to demonstrate that the status quo was not just flawed but fundamentally unsustainable. Nelox, now the elected facilitator of the Reformed Council, nodded in agreement from his position near the podium. As we mark 5 years since that pivotal moment, let us remember the lesson it taught us. True cooperation cannot be forced or coerced. It must be chosen freely by all participants, based on mutual respect and shared benefit. Earth chose to walk away when those conditions were not met. We chose to return when they were, and that freedom to choose is what makes our current arrangement not just effective, but just. As Lisa concluded her address, the assembly erupted in the various sounds that constituted applause across different species. Some clapped, others clicked appendages, still others emitted harmonious tones or released scented spores. Later, at the reception, Lisa found herself approached by a young human diplomat recently assigned to the council. "Secretary Carter," the young woman said, "your actions 5 years ago are now taught in every diplomatic academy on Earth. But there's one question our professors can't answer." "What's that?" Lisa asked. "Were you afraid? When you walked out of the council chamber that day, did you fear the consequences?" Lisa considered the question carefully. "I wasn't afraid of standing alone. Earth had the capacity to defend itself, to thrive independently if necessary. What I feared was that the galaxy would continue on its dysfunctional path, that the suffering of rim worlds would continue unchecked, that the potential for genuine cooperation among species would be squandered. So it was never really about Earth," the young diplomat observed. "It was always about building something better," Lisa corrected her. "Something that Earth could be part of with pride and integrity. Sometimes, you have to be willing to walk away from the table to change the conversation. That's the paradox of independence. It's often the path to more meaningful connection." As the young diplomat moved on, Nelox approached with 2 glasses of Earth champagne, offering one to Lisa. To 5 years of the Reformed Council, he proposed. Lisa accepted the glass, and to many more. Your successor will have large shoes to fill, Neelox commented. Lisa had announced her retirement from diplomatic service, effective at the end of the year. After 20 years representing Earth to the galaxy, she was ready to pass the torch. Ambassador Chen is more than capable, Lisa assured him. And she understands the importance of maintaining our independence even as we cooperate. The paradox you're so fond of citing, Neelox observed with a sound that passed for a chuckle in his species. Exactly. The best allies are those who don't need the alliance, who choose it freely because it serves their values and interests. As the reception continued around them, Lisa reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. From frustration to decisive action, from isolation to reformed cooperation, from a broken system to one that, while imperfect, strove genuinely toward justice and effectiveness. Earth had walked away from galaxy politics, and the universe had indeed freaked out. But in that moment of crisis, the foundations had been laid for something far better than what had come before. As Lisa looked out at the gathering of species, all now engaged in genuine dialogue and cooperation, she knew that the decision to walk away had been the right one. Sometimes, the most powerful statement wasn't what you said, but what you did. And sometimes, the greatest gift you could offer a flawed system was the courage to leave it and the wisdom to return only when it had truly changed. The message had been received across the galaxy. Respect was earned, not demanded. Cooperation was chosen, not coerced. And independence was not just a status, but a state of mind, one that Earth would never again surrender. No matter how enticing the offers or how dire the threats, it was a lesson the galaxy would not soon forget. And it had all begun with a simple, courageous act, standing up and walking away,